Hello. Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Aron Cramer and I'm a learner and an optimist is what I chose from the display out there. Have a look. It's great stuff that Microsoft made possible. So welcome. I'm delighted everyone is here, but if anyone hasn't voted and is a US citizen, you're asked to leave right now. Right now. Yeah. Yes, so we are going to talk tonight about futures. We're going to start the evening with presenting some scenarios out to 2030 that will, we think, define the next decade of business and our shared future. These scenarios, doing business in 2030, we think will help you create business strategies that will prove successful and resilient at a time of really breathtaking change. We will also be hearing from CEOs and C-suite sustainability leaders from great companies like PVH, Novartis, Etsy, Coca-Cola, and Kering. We will hear from some amazing journalists, including Megan Twohey and Jodi Kantor from the New York Times. They broke the Harvey Weinstein story, which helped to launch the Me Too movement. Truly consequential reporting. And David Schwimmer is here with us tonight, an actor who's done some amazing, some really wonderful videos that I think will help us learn more and understand the very human dimension of sexual harassment. More journalists, David Gelles, who writes the corner office column for the New York Times, and he presents some very personal insights from CEOs about how they lead. And Anand Giridharadas, who's written a very provocative book called Winners Take All, and he'll be with us tomorrow morning, and I think he's going to challenge us a lot as he takes on the question of whether businesses and business leaders are really doing all that we can to make change happen. It's almost the eve of the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and John Ruggie, who is the architect of the guiding principles, will be with us along with a couple of other human rights leaders to talk about that crucial issue. And of course, we have about 36 sessions taking on plastics and blockchain, working with Generation Z, how we change, or the changing world of work. And I think it's a really rich set of rich content that will show how the sustainable business agenda is actually the most exciting and the most important part of the business agenda. And then there's all of you, because you actually make this conference in terms of what you do over the next couple of days. We know that every year there's a lot of unplanned magic that happens, and all of you connect with each other, generate new ideas, and hopefully cook up some new ways to work together. So we hope that you'll leave inspired, that you'll leave informed, and that you will leave here challenged. Before moving on, I also want to thank our very generous sponsors for the conference. They make all of this possible. We greatly appreciate it, and I invite you to thank them as well. I know they appreciate that, and so do I. Thank you. So we're here this week for the BSR conference. We had a lot of great pre-activities today, but let me take a few minutes, if I can, to talk about what we do the other 51 weeks of the year. There's a lot going on in the world. We did some work on behalf of Facebook with respect to human rights, a report that Facebook released yesterday. We conducted an assessment of how Facebook had allowed the platform to be used for human rights violations in Myanmar, a country with very serious human rights issues. We're proud of this work. Facebook has been very transparent in terms of what they have and haven't done and how they're going to respond. We, of course, do a great deal of work on climate, and we were proud to be helping to frame the Global Climate Action Summit in California in September, where we launched our Resilient Supply Chain Leaders Platform. We invite you to join us and the other companies that we're working with on that. On the inclusive economy, a crucial question. It is one of the things that almost every voter is thinking about one way or the other. We are excited to be launching early next year collaboration with the OECD, Business for Inclusive Growth, where we're going to try to create frameworks for both businesses and policymakers to think about the path forward in terms of helping people, communities, enterprises, and national economies thrive and thrive in a way that is truly inclusive. These issues, climate resilience, human rights and technology, inclusive economy, we talked about these at last year's conference as crucial new topics as we work with all of you to redefine sustainable business. We don't stop there. We are also doing a great deal of work on women's empowerment and have launched Business Action for Women, where we're working with a great group of over 20 companies looking for ways to address not only sexual harassment, but also gender-based violence and other crucial issues. On supply chain, there are some amazing efforts to bring new tools to bear, innovative financing and blockchain to help create more transparent supply chains with better incentives that deliver better results on both human and environmental issues. And also, how do we manage sustainability? How do companies manage it? Well, we're working with the financial services sector to integrate ESG more fully into capital allocation and investment decisions. And in the past year, we've worked with more than a dozen private equity firms, including KKR, where we're working very closely with them to develop an impact investing strategy that will help them deploy capital with measurable progress towards the SDGs. So a lot going on. I know all of you are doing quite a lot. I'm also really proud of the fact that in 2018, we've had more than 40 companies join BSR. That is the largest number we've had in a single year. It builds on a strong year last year. We've had 80 new companies join BSR in the last year. We are grateful for that. We are delighted by that. And whether you're in your first year of BSR membership or your 25th, we are proud to be able to work with you and support you. And in addition, we're working in a deeper way with Google, with Microsoft, with Coca-Cola in our effort to redefine sustainable business. So talk to our teams. We have more than 50 people here from all of our 8 offices in Asia and Europe and the United States. There's lots we want to do with you after the conference is over. Okay, so that's a little bit of the what that we're doing. I think given where many things are in the world, it's important to talk about why we do this work. We are going to be talking about our future scenarios, and that's really, really important. And we're going to talk throughout the conference about our shared future. The future is really important. This is why we launched the Sustainable Futures Lab a year ago, and the director of the lab, Jacob Park, will be up on the stage very, very shortly. But we can't ignore the fact that our present is feeling very, very fragile right about now. Speaking personally, it is clear that our societies are coming apart at precisely the time when we have to find more cohesive ways to work together to take decisive action on big issues. And I know many of you feel the same. I know many of you are here because you feel the same. In this country, in just the last 2 weeks, we've seen unspeakable violence that was not previously imaginable in the name of hatred of the other. We continue to see an assault on truth and science. We have a political discourse that is more about name-calling than taking on big issues like climate change, the changing nature of work, building truly sustainable infrastructure, and institutions that are just and fair and diverse. This is truly on display in the United States, but it is not limited to the United States. In Europe, xenophobia and racism continues to infect political systems and the public. In Brazil, we see the same thing, and the stakes in Brazil are very high. The Amazon, we all depend on the Amazon, and the stewardship and protection of that natural resource will affect all of us very directly. I'm delighted that we have a lot of great journalists with us this week, but journalists right around the world, from Bulgaria to Hong Kong and including the United States, are under attack simply for doing their jobs, and governments are using amazing new technologies to maximize surveillance of their populations. So there's no wonder that there's a lot of anxiety out there and also economic dislocation. And we know from history that in times of great change like this, we can sometimes get tribalism. We get people retreating to their corners, looking inward, looking backwards instead of looking outward and forwards. And that's what we need, and we need to do that with confidence. So we do need to address the future. but we also have to recognize the urgency of meeting the urgent challenges of the present, and a present that is throwing up a lot of big challenges. I'm not just here to depress you, by the way. So that all of that is true, and we also know that all these changes deliver massive opportunities. That whether it's climate, whether it's the new world of work, there are massive opportunities in all of this. And we are here to talk a little bit about a new blueprint for business. My colleague Sun-Hee has done an amazing job with our graphics. Thank you, Sun-Hee. What is that blueprint based on? It's got to be based on three pretty simple things, in my view. It's got to be based on values, on fairness, and planetary boundaries. And when it comes to values, we've seen on vivid display this year that companies that are reflecting their values and what they do have the support of their workforce. Companies that are not don't have that support. And this is really interesting. This is new. This is seeing companies' employees take action directly and call out their leaders is something that's new. And I think it tells an important story about why values are so important. Fairness. You know, the average person, I hate to break this to you, doesn't really know what the Dow Jones Sustainability Index is. I know that's a shock. But people do understand basic economic fairness. People understand honesty. People understand whether companies are investing in their employees, whether companies are paying a level of tax that allows societies to thrive, and whether companies allow women and all people to thrive and reach their potential inside their business. So fairness is crucially important. And of course, planetary boundaries. So the IPCC report from the world's leading scientists has made the stakes, again, very, very clear. And we now understand also that the oceans are warming. So we know that we can't continue with the same business models, which means we need to innovate new business models. So we will be fleshing this blueprint over the coming days, but let's try to remember those core ideas of values and fairness and planetary boundaries. I don't know if you can have 3 North Stars. I didn't do too well in astronomy in college, but those are the 3 things that should be guiding us. Let me talk a little bit about globalism as well, because globalism is getting a lot of criticism. Globalism for me is not an abstract concept. Globalism is actually about a world that is connected and a world in which people can really reach their full potential. And I've been very fortunate in the last year seeing what this means, visiting the homes of some amazing women in Bangladesh who are participating in our HER project, our peer trainers, helping their community understand reproductive health, understand financial inclusion, understand how to avoid gender-based violence. That's what globalism is about. I've seen it in the rising generation of Chinese, including our own team in Shanghai and in Guangzhou, where 20-something and 30-something Chinese are immensely proud of what their country is accomplishing after turning inward for decades. That's what globalism means. And in meeting entrepreneurs who are remaking our healthcare system, our energy system, our banking system, all of it, sometimes from the most remote corners of the world, with solutions that can become global solutions. That's what globalism means to me, and I think that's what globalism means to all of us in this room. So we need to stand up for this vision of a global economy, because there is amazing promise there, there's human promise, and there's business promise. And that, I think, reflects the kind of future we want to build. Okay, I've spent a little more time tonight than I usually do talking about the why of what we do, talking about values and principles, because I think at a time when a lot of the world, where our present does feel fragile and our future looks at times confusing, at times amazing, I think it's important to remember why we do what we do and the principles that underlie what we do. That's something that this community knows very, very well, and it's something that is in too short supply. So it's an asset that we have, it's an asset that we can use inside our businesses to have them focused on the right questions and doing things in the right way. I think all of you understand all of that, and I hope that over the coming 2 days we learn, we challenge, we inspire, and walk out of here saying the present may feel fragile, but I know where to head. The future looks confusing, but I know how to think about it. And if we do that, we have a ton to offer not only our companies, but also the wider world. So enjoy the next 2.5 days. We're delighted you're here, and thank you for being with us at the start. And now going to kick off the part of the conference that is going to lead to our scenarios, doing business in 2030. And there will be no human being on the stage for the moment, so I guess it's been automated. I guess that's sending a signal. But we have something to start with, and then a great discussion that I think you're really going to enjoy.